This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Today on City Cast Madison. It's Tuesday, so it's time for another installment of Must See Madison. The gang's here to gab about our newest team members' adventures around town. With your help and suggestions, we've been sending out our producer and new Madison resident, Phil Surkis, to learn about Madison and to see her at her best. This week, hit up Tenney Park, the free Olbrich Gardens tour, and some prime food carts. Let's go! It's Tuesday, July 2nd. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Hey. Hayley, how are ya?
Hey, Bianca. I'm so good.
And Phil, how are you doing?
Hey and hello.
The star of the hour.
Nonsense. I'm no star, but I'm doing pretty good.
Amazing. How are your Must See Madison adventures going down from this past weekend? What have you been up to this past week?
I have a twist.
Ooh.
The twist is the first place I'm going to talk about. No one told me to go there.
Oh.
I don't know why. I'm talking about Tenney Park. Have you heard of it?
It's almost a shock. Like, I am surprised no one said that one.
I am shocked too. Please, if there's a reason like you all out there have did not tell me to go there, tell me. Is there something I don't know about? Is there something mysterious happening there? But I went to Tenney Park with Marty the dog.
Yay.
He loved it. I loved it. I want to bring up something that the website says for Tenney Park. It says, under the narrative trees, share a picnic on the plush green grass while enjoying the seemingly endless horizon of Lake Mendota. What are narrative trees? I've never heard that before.
It's like storybook?
Have you ever heard that? I mean, it's cool. Like there's a story in the trees, I guess. You
know, like something that's picturesque. I've never heard that characterization.
They've got stories to tell. They've got things to say. Did the trees tell you any stories, Phil? I have many thoughts on Tenney Park, but I'm curious to hear what your first impressions were. And I'm sure Marty loved it.
First impressions, it did seem very storybook. It was very, very pretty. But I also want to, at the same time, bring up Tenney Locks. We said we crossed the street, which I think is Sherman. Is that right?
Yeah, Sherman Ave.
Hey. And we walked out onto the dam. And there's like a pier and a break wall you can walk out on. And I am unscientifically claiming that this is the coolest place to be on really hot days in Madison, and like cool in the temperature sense. It's also cool in like an intriguing, nice place to be sense. But like we've had some heat lately, and just standing out at the end was the best place to be in all of Madison. I'm claiming that. I'm making that claim.
It absolutely is. It's such a good spot. If you like walk out on the jetty area, that's what you're talking about, where the water is. It's so fun. And if you go out, one of my hot tips for Tenney Park is to go out on a really, really windy day, because then the odds of you seeing a kiteboarder or several is going to be super high. And these guys, I don't know if you are familiar with the sport of kiteboarding or kite surfing, but they use wind power to capture the air on these like big sort of like parachute things. And then they're holding on to the parachute and boarding on this sort of like wakeboard thing. And these guys get some massive air. And I have seen people like eat it hard, where I was like, oh my God, this person just died in Tenney Park, but they did not. They were so good. Like it's insane. It's really fun to go watch.
That sounds amazing. Have you seen anything like that, Bianca?
Well, so I'm just trying to make sure we're talking about this kind of like a long pier, right? Like there's there are benches all like down the pier. That's what that area we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that area. I don't know if I've seen the kite surfers, but I like it at pretty much any time and temperature. I go actually all winter when it's icy, and it's not even that, you know, it's got its own beauty. And I have to admit that It's one of my favorite places to cry.
Yes.
So, which makes me think of an excellent article that you wrote, Hayley, are the best places to cry in Madison. Like, catch me out there crying, looking over at the water. Not to like bring Tenney down, it's actually a positive thing. But I like typically, when I go on walks over there, I don't know. It feels emotional. It feels very like movie scene-y, like, kind of, when you're in the throes of whatever the conflict is as you're reaching the climax and you have to like think about like, how am I going to take my next step in my life? I go to Tenney Park and I go to that area and literally all year. And maybe I'm friends with all the seagulls. I doubt they know me, but I know them. And there's like probably like 60 of them on a regular basis.
So I think you're being very clear. Listeners, if you go to Tenney Park and see Bianca there, leave her alone.
Leave her alone.
Leave her alone. Just
Yes.
like let that happen.
And literally everyone always has. Like, it's totally fine. And I admire places like New York City where people be on the subway and they're just crying because life is hard sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
And people have been very respectful and they're just living their own life. Like, and I know I'm not the only person that goes out there and like wistfully, I don't know. There's just people out there contemplating their life and the people in it and their relationships. And I can just feel it. I can see it. It's not just me.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's a highly emotional setting. I think it brings the feels. I totally get it.
And Tenney kind of reminds me of Good Will Hunting. Have you guys been to that park in Boston?
I haven't been there, but I do know what you're talking about. And I can get that vibe. And honestly, I'm glad that you brought up like the emotional, vulnerability that Tenney Park brings out in you, because Tenney Park for me was like my pandemic sort of like safe haven in 2020, because I used to live over on East Johnson Street back when the pandemic like first kicked off in March 2020. We don't need to talk that deep into it, but like I would take a walk. Everyone had to do their little mental health walks. I would take a walk. It was like 1 mile down and back, sit at Tenney Park and just like think about life very quietly or have a nice cry over, by the water. And it is just an emotional and a beautiful place. There's so many different like little bridges and stuff too. There's one bridge that I like to go to over on Tenney Park, and there's like a big rock in front of it. Me and my friend Andy, we hang out a lot on that rock. It's just a nice place to like chill. I've had a nice like little picnic date at Tenney Park before. That was a 10 out of 10 first date. If anyone's looking for ideas, picnic at Tenney Park. I had a great time. It's a beautiful sort of picturesque scene. It's the narrative trees. What else can you ask for?
Narrative trees.
Yes.
I want to do a quick throwback to last week's Must See Madison. Bianca, do you remember I was talking about I went on a hot bike ride and I stopped at a rest stop that I said was solar powered. And I thought maybe I was delusional. Do you remember that?
I was like, are you sure it wasn't a mirage?
I don't think it was now, because I learned about the pavilion in Tenney Park, which is actually solar powered. And they did that in 2023. Anyway, this solar system they have produces 80% of the building's electricity usage. So that is maybe a fun fact for some people.
I think so.
That's pretty cool. And they do a lot of activities at Tenney Park. The city does. They do like bird and nature adventures. We're always like listing those in the newsletter. If you guys are familiar with our events section, like there's lots of stuff to do around Tenney Park. That's so cool about the solar power though. I didn't know that.
I like just fell in love with Tenney Park more just from us talking about it, because actually it is like the quintessential storybook area.
I'm glad you shared what you shared, Bianca, because I think that was part of my experience there, was to kind of feel the feels.
Did you cry as well?
No, but it could have been just like really windy. So maybe I did. Maybe I did. But I have to rate Tenney Park. Madison, where have you been my whole life? And I'm a little disappointed that people didn't already suggest it for me. But I forgive you. I forgive everyone. It's a great place.
Maybe the reason they didn't suggest it is because it's so special to them that they're like, nah, I'm going to keep this to myself.
And I respect that.
I don't. I just
But speaking of a hot day, I want to tell you what I did after Tenney Park.
Please.
I was walking around the neighborhood that I'll call the sassy neighborhood, which is Hayley's favorite neighborhood, I think. It was such a hot day. Like the humidity was kind of acting like a great equalizer, like everyone was soaked. Everyone was moving in slow motion. Everyone had a thought bubble over their head that said, oh God, it's so humid out. But I was walking around that neighborhood. I turned the corner on Jennifer Street and I saw, it looked like an oasis. I saw a food truck parked in front of Jennifer Market. And I felt cooler just by seeing this truck. It was like blue, green, and kind of vintage looking. Like I've never seen a food truck like this. And on the side of the food truck were these big red letters that said Gloria's.
Gloria.
Exactly. And I took that as a sign from God or the universe or what have you, that I needed to get in on this action. There was this little line, tiny line, but I've never seen a food truck in front of Jennifer Market. And I got an al pastor burrito from Gloria's food truck.
Keeping up with that non-vegan streak I see.
I know. I'm not going to, I can't
and
front.
going hard. I don't know why. I feel like El Pastor is harder than chicken.
I'm fully on the dark or light side, depending on your perspective. But yeah, al pastor, marinated and seasoned pork that's cooked on a spit grill and sliced off. And it was really, really nice. Well, first of all, I want to mention Gloria's. There are actually 2 storefronts for Gloria's Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
There's one in Madison and one in Sun Prairie, which I didn't know. And this food truck, it's the coolest looking food truck. It's kind of a new venture. They launched it in March of this year.
Oh, wow. That's a fun fact.
Because you sent us a photo. When I saw, I was like, wait a second. I feel like I've seen this recently. And it's got this like California, what is it, moondog? What someone fill in a description of what it's just like surfing.
Okay, I said blue-green. Let's just call it surf green. Okay, surf green truck.
Yeah, like I would say turquoise or something, but like it's like kind of a vintage, like you'd park it on the beach or something like that. And then I thought, geez, I don't know this one. I feel like I really pay attention to the food trucks, obviously not enough. And I looked it up. They won Madison's Best Mexican Restaurant last year for Best of Madison.
They did?
Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
I'm like, yeah. So I'm just excited that you stumbled upon this in the wild.
Yeah, it was a total stumble. I got that burrito. In minutes, I was home. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and I focused on the tropical kind of breeze. It was humid, but I thought of it as like maybe tropical. And I felt a breeze. Maybe it was coming from Lake Monona. Maybe it was a low flying F3. I don't know, but I felt a breeze. It was a delicious burrito. I rate the whole experience involving stumbling upon Gloria's food truck as I was pleasantly surprised. I was transported to Cancun. I wasn't expecting that. I was pleasantly surprised.
I love that. We need to have a group trip now it looks like they've got a location on the west side over on Junction Road. So maybe we go out there and sample the whole menu and see what makes them the best of Madison. I love that.
I think we just all need to live in a van and travel around.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think anyone has that idea yet.
That's like such a novel idea.
Maybe we could blog about it.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of City Cast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de City Cast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
I love that you said that humidity was the great equalizer. That's brilliant and so true. Like, I'm sorry, but we all have to experience this together. Or unifier? What did you say? Something like that.
Equalizer, unifier, don't they mean the same thing?
Yeah.
You know, I also want to thank Jenny F. and WS, someone who put the initial WS, who wrote in on Madison Minutes and suggested the food trucks, the food cart scene, because I hadn't done that yet. So this was my entry point. So thank you, Jenny F. and WS. I did something else just yesterday. While we were working on the podcast, I took a moment to do something off the suggestions of Tammy B., Bri B., Melissa P., and Lynn T. Boy, do these consonants rhyme or what? Everyone's
You're just a Beach Boys song, like.
Oh my goodness. So all these fine folks, all these wonderful people suggested that I check out Olbrich Gardens, which I hadn't done yet.
That's a good one.
It's a classic. What'd you see? What'd you think?
Well, here's what happened. We were all hard working yesterday, getting the newsletter out, getting the podcast out. I was over caffeinated, so I just needed a break that wasn't a cup of coffee. So I went down the street, and within like a minute and a half, I was on a tram being driven by this woman named Mary, who's worked there for 20 years. And she was giving me a tour all around the outside gardens, and it's free. And it was lovely. I got my mind off of things. I was just taking in all this beautiful flora and plant life.
I love it. We love Olbrich Gardens. I have never actually done a formal tour of Olbrich, so I'm glad that you got to go and experience that. I always go to Olbrich in the fall and winter time. They do this really cool art installation light show program called Gleam, and they invite artists in from all over, and they have pretty much, like I just said, these big art installations, and they're all usually all light based. So you go when it's dark out and you just get to see all of these cool lights and mirrors and cool visual aspects, but it doesn't necessarily highlight all of the true natural beauty of the garden. So I feel like I need to go take a tram ride with Mary. I need to go see Olbrich shining in the daytime, in the sunshine of the universe's light.
Yes, and it was gorgeous. And one of the first gardens you pass by is this very popular event space for weddings and stuff. And Mary told me that every year, whatever the Pantone color of the year is, that's the theme they put in the garden, that they get flowers of that color.
I love that.
The Pantone? I don't know what it means.
You don't know what the Pantone color of the year is? So Pantone, they are, I guess, technically a paint company, right? But they've been coming out, Pantone USA, color solutions, trends, guides, and tools. That's what they say. They are a New Jersey company.
They make the colors.
They literally
Who
make
gives
colors.
them the right?
They did it themselves. They bestowed it upon themselves. But every year they come out with the Pantone color of the year, and that's how we got things like millennial pink. That was one of the big ones from a few years ago. And so every year, now that I say it, you're going to start seeing it.
Okay.
But yeah, every year they come out with this is the color of the year. This is basically what's hot and what's trending. I think the color of the year this year right now, it's a peach-ish color.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I love graphic design and that kind of stuff. So maybe that's just me nerding out on I love these colors. But
well, I'm in the minority on the team right now, so I'm glad. Thank you guys for taking a moment to explain it to a noob.
Peach fuzz is the color of 2024, if you're curious. So I guess we'll be seeing a lot of peach colors at the gardens.
You might. There were so many beautiful colors there. I was just very impressed that so quickly you can kind of be transported and have your mood change. Now we're going to talk about the emotional content the same way we did with Tenney.
Yeah.
It's almost a great place to have the feels, except there were quite a number of tourists during the daytime during this hour. I mean, in a way that's not bad, because how deep in the feels can you get when there's other people around saying polite things to you? Oh, there's a butterfly on your shoulder. That happens.
You're I know. I went to a bonsai exhibit at Olbrich last year and had an incredible conversation with a stranger tourist about the trees and how we're all like plants. And she was like, wow, that was so deep. And I felt very smart. I made some kind of cool connection, but it was emotional, but it was more cerebral. Okay, I'll stop.
Don't stop. Everyone needs to go there if you haven't. And I'm sure a lot of you have, but if you're new here, and you haven't, go. There is a Royal Thai Pavilion. It may be royal, but it's covered up in plastic because they're spiffing it up. So it's kind of under construction.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to see that, but it was shrouded in plastic. It's the only one. It's the only Thai pavilion in the continental United States.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
See,
a really
I
fun
take
fact.
the tour. I want to take the tour too. I didn't even know there was a tour. That's
Talk to Mary.
all of us who lived here for long. You're just like, you ignore some of these things. It's like, that's actually cool. Talk to Mary.
Talk to Mary. Oh my God. I so rate this. Madison, where have you been all my life? It is a great, I can't believe it's free. I can't believe how wonderful it is to experience. And I'm going to go back again and again and again now that I know that it's there.
And I mean, they also do, again, they do a lot of other cool events. I'm just thinking of like cocktails in the conservatory. Like they're really trying to like reach a broader audience, which I respect because, you know, we have the tourists and it's a great place for like field trips and whatnot. But I think they are trying to reach like, you know, Madison's younger, like going out crowd. And so I think they're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Done it. They've done it. If you,
They got some kind of
they got
Olbrich
dance
after
parties.
dark stuff going on, you know?
Yeah.
You're
It
like,
is.
wait, there's like strobe lights coming out of the conservatory.
And literally, let us never forget the time that the corpse flower bloomed at Olbrich Garden, and there was literally a line wrapped like around the block. Phil, you weren't here for this, but like Madison Minutes, we were kind of like in our heyday of being crazy and cringy. And we made shirts with the corpse flower on them with the help of this really awesome local artist. And it just said big stinky flower because people were so into it. And there was a sign outside of Olbrich that just said like big stinky flower.
Oh my gosh.
And people were so there for it. It was really like, I think, a defining moment of Madison history where people were really, I think, kind of coming out of that pandemic haze of I'm allowed to be near other people again.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it's like, okay, we're all out of the house and we're all going to see this flower. I tried to stop by to see it, but literally, again, the line was out the door and they had to cut it off at a certain point. It's like you'd think, what, like a Chapel Roan concert? Like we were just saying, Bianca, like it was like
Yes.
Madison's
God.
biggest celebrity is corpse flower.
It's a corpse flower. The great unifier is actually the corpse flower.
Has anyone
May it
taken that name for a
bloom
band?
Again.
Corpse
I know,
flower.
it's so many good band names in this combo.
I love that story, Hayley. That's amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
The last thing I'm going to talk about is something that the recommendation comes from Hayley S.
Who is she?
Who's she? It's actually comes from all these folks who were kind enough to recommend checking out the food cart and food truck scene because last night I texted you and you gave me the best recommendation.
Yay.
Because I needed to go somewhere to get some dinner last night. You recommended that I check out Common Pasta. Is it a truck? Not quite. Is it a cart? Yeah, I guess so. A trailer. I don't know what you would call it. It's its own little thing.
It's
a
it's
tiny
not quite
house.
Like it literally is. It's like a food tiny house. But I mean, I think a lot of Madison's quote unquote food carts, like food trucks, like people will say food trucks in reference to these food carts, right? Like
Okay.
it's like food trailers that are being pulled behind a truck. But yeah, you got Common Pasta. You
I
went to
did.
State Line Distillery, right? What
Yes.
did you order? What did you think?
I asked them, and this is what I'll always ask. What are you known for? What's your specialty? What's the most popular? And they said the mac and cheese.
Another very vegan choice.
I didn't get it. I didn't get the mac and cheese though, which like I went against it. I don't know why. And they even told me that like their mac and cheese won like something like best in Wisconsin 2 years in a row. Do you know about this?
Wow. No, but I wouldn't doubt it.
All right. We'll have to kind of get those deets, but
Madison just keeps coming through.
I ordered the rigatoni. It had pork and beef meatballs
Ooh,
And-
yummy.
and an arrabbiata sauce. I also paired it with a big slice. They had this whole wheat garlic sourdough bread. And I took it home and it was a carby evening. It was the evening I wrapped myself in a bunch of warm carbs and watched some television.
Welcome to Wisconsin. That is isn't that our like state song? Wrap yourself in carbs.
The streets are paved with carbs wherever you see a food truck. This was really, really good. This was the best pasta I've had in forever and a day. And I definitely rate Common Pasta Madison. Where have you been my whole life? I want to know your experience with Common Pasta, Hayley.
So they're usually like, I know you got to see them in front of State Line because like, you know, it's a food cart, it's a food truck, they travel around. But like on the day-to-day, people can normally find Common Pasta out on the Capitol Square. They're usually right around 1 East Main Street on the square. And I have had, again, it's just one of those things where it's like, I was having a really rough day and I needed a warm hug. And that warm hug came in the form of a big bowl of pasta. And it was a lovely and a beautiful experience. And it was everything that I needed. And the people that run it are super fantastic. They're always doing like new things on the menu too, which is really fun. But like, yeah, their classics are really good. And if you're ever looking to like find out where they are, again, normally they're around the square, but also they do post like how I knew they were at State Line is because I followed them on Instagram and they posted an Instagram story. So that's usually, I would say, like my hot tip is how to keep up with the food carts is find their online presence, specifically the Instagrams, because they're going to be like the most up to date and accurate form of information.
I love it because I was about to ask you, how do I keep up? And you just told me.
There you go. The internet. It's a crazy place, man.
Before I went to Common Pasta, I did get my hair cut at Thorpe's. And what's the name of that neighborhood, Hayley?
Sassy.
And I just want to share a quote from the woman who cut my hair. She said, and she moved here a year ago from New York City.
New York City.
She said, don't try to compare Madison to anywhere else. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Beautiful.
I like that. I like that perspective. I think that is something very good to keep in mind because people are constantly comparing Madison to Austin or to, you know, Nashville or Chicago or whatever. Like it's just, and hey, shout out to all the City Cast podcasts and newsletters we got in those cities too. But Madison and like all those other cities, they're each unique in their own way. And I think, yeah, you just got to enjoy them for what they are. And I've enjoyed these conversations so much, Phil, getting to see you explore Madison. This has been awesome.
Likewise. It's the best. And we're going to keep doing it. Thank you guys for a beautiful Must See Madison. Phil Surkis, thank you.
Thank you, Bianca and Hayley.
Hayley Sperling.
Thank you.
That's Phil Surkis, our producer, Hayley Sperling, our executive producer, and me chatting it up about this week's Must See Madison adventures. And where should Phil and the team go next? If you've got suggestions for must-see spots, please let us know. Maybe we should take a tour, grab a bite, or experience an underrated Madison gem you know about. Email us at madison@citycast.fm or leave us a voicemail at 608-318-3367. Please consider leaving a voicemail because we'd love to hear your voice and play it on the show. That's all for today here on City Cast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed this show, why not share this episode with someone you'd rest upon narrative trees with? All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with a special episode that features an all City Cast host roundup, including me talking with our CEO, David Platz. We're marking the 4th of July holiday by bringing you some top stories from across the country, one from each of the 13 City Cast cities, including Madison, that we think should be on your radar. So definitely check that out, and until then, go enjoy the best of Madison.